Despite the fact that President Trump is privately funding a massive upgrade to the White House, a grand ballroom that will be used not just for entertaining guests, but to woo foreign dignitaries, allies, potential allies, and trading partners, the Democrats, well, predictably, they are having a meltdown. They're acting as if President Trump has taken a sledgehammer and a giant wrecking ball and is tearing down all of America's history. They're acting as if the White House is no more. Well, President Trump doesn't care about the Democrats weeping and gnashing of teeth. According to Fox News, it is music to his ears. Here's President Trump's statements on the new construction, the renovations, the addition at the White House.
And most excitingly, on the other side, you see the fence and the wall. We're building a world-class ballroom. You know, for 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom here. We don't have a ballroom. We have a little cocktail area, but we don't have a ballroom. The East Room, it's called, is a very small cocktail area. It holds about 88 people if it's tight. And I said, if I do this again, I'm going to get a ballroom built, and we're putting up our own money. With the government is paying for nothing. You probably hear the beautiful sound of construction to the back. You hear that sound? Oh. That's music to my ears. I love that sound. Other people don't like it. I love it, Josh. I think when I hear that sound, it reminds me of money. In this case, it reminds me of lack of money because I'm paying for it, so it's the opposite. But it's going to be one of the most beautiful ballrooms anywhere in the world, and it's going to be able to take care of tremendous things. When you have, as an example, I'm going to...
Well, this improvement to the White House is now the new proof that the Democrats have that President Trump is Orange Man bad and President Trump is the next Hitler. They're acting as if this right here is proof that he is never leaving the White House. Forget the fact that he's clearly thinking about his legacy and what he's going to leave behind as a gift to the nation. But of course, the Democrats, they're taking advantage of this. They're using this as the new fake outrage of the week. They always have another one when the other fake outrage didn't work out for them. But for this one, they're sharing all these photos on social media. Just take a look at this one that Gavin Newsom posted. Donald Trump doesn't want you to see this picture. He's literally destroying the White House. Now, if you are like most people, and if you're watching this channel, you obviously are not like most people, but most people, you know, they don't follow politics closely. Heck, they might not even watch the news. So if you see that post from Gavin Newsom, or if you see someone share it on whatever platform, you might think, oh my gosh, President Trump really is tearing down the White House. I mean, like, that is how misinformation spreads. And I think this is why the Democrats are just going to keep losing, because you think about all the things going on right now. Yes, President Trump has gotten trade deals done. Yes, he's gotten peace deals done. And so much is going to take time before we really feel the effects down here on Main Street. But people are still hurting. Prices are still high. Yeah, inflation has calmed down, but it still costs an arm and a leg to get groceries, especially if you have a family. Jobs are going away, whether that's because of AI or, you know, just uncertainty when it comes to the tariffs. I'm not blaming Trump for any of this. What I am saying, though, is that the Democrats could be more proactive in working with President Trump, right? Trying to find solutions to help life for the everyday voter, for the everyday American citizen. But instead, what they're doing is they're using outrage on something I think most people would be happy about, an improvement to the People's House, something that will be used to not just, like I said, entertain, but also to woo foreign dignitaries and potential allies and trading partners. I think that's all great news. So the Democrats are just focusing on the wrong issues right now. I guess if you're a Democrat, you can afford to bury your head in the sand and ignore all of the important issues. But people like you and I, we can't afford those issues. We need to focus on what's important and what affects our day-to-day lives, like cost of living. And especially if you're a senior and you're on Medicare or are about to be on Medicare, then it's really important that you're aware of your plans and your options. Because the worst thing that can happen is next year you find out your plan doesn't cover your doctor or the prescription medication you need. I think with the shutdown going on right now, that is the best reminder that the government isn't coming in to save us. It is up to us to take care of ourselves. And that's why I am a proud partner of Chapter. They make all of this easy. This is an overwhelming time, open enrollment, but in less than 20 minutes, you can have the right plan for you. They'll review all of your plans. Many you might not even find on the official Medicare.gov website. And hey, if you're already on the right plan, they'll just say, this is the best one. You don't have to change a thing, and you will have peace of mind. This doesn't have to be a stressful period. You don't have to be like the Democrats and bury your head in the sand and just hope for the best. No, you can actually take action, and less than 20 minutes is all it takes. So call 321-358-2297 or check out the link that I am leaving in the description below. Well, it is really ironic that Gavin Newsom wants to call out President Trump because in California, not only are they renovating the state capitol, but it's going to cost a lot more than the $200 million that's being used for this ballroom at the White House. In fact, it's going to cost a lot more than an NFL stadium. Take a look at this.
Why will a new office building for California lawmakers cost as much as an NFL stadium? That's a question we've been asking California's legislative leaders overseeing the Capitol Annex project. Live Copter 3 flew over, getting this exclusive look at the progress crews have made. The $1.1 billion project is supposed to cover costs for the office building, parking garage, and a new visitor center.
But it will also include...
Yeah, that makes the $200 million for this ballroom seem a lot cheaper in comparison. Well, Democrats are freaking out, but this is actually where the construction is happening. So you have the White House residence, which is the iconic part of the White House that everyone's familiar with. You have the two colonnades on either side that connect to the West Wing and the East Wing. And in the East Wing, in yellow, that was where the demolition was being carried out. And those photos that we saw coming out on Monday, those were taken from the point of view from the Treasury building. Well, within the last hour, we found out that they're now having to demolish the entire West Wing. According to the New York Times, the White House is demolishing the entirety of the West Wing to make way for President Trump's $200 million ballroom, blah, 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 blah. Now, this has been confirmed by multiple news sources, so it's not just the New York Times, but they were the first one to report this, which is why, the only reason why I have that pulled up there. So the updated plan or map would be this. You can see the West Wing, the main White House are intact, but the entire West Wing will be gone and the ballroom will be there. Now, they're not actually totally getting rid of the history behind the entire East Wing, and I'll get into the mock-ups and show you the mock-ups of the ballroom and the new East Wing later in the video. What they are doing is, when they started demolition, they realized, hey, it would actually be not only cheaper, but more structurally sound to just demolish the entire East Wing and rebuild a portion of it and then add the ballroom than just tear down a wall and add the ballroom. So they're doing this not just from a cost savings perspective, but from a security perspective, because they want to make sure that obviously it is a very important and high profile location and building, and they want to make sure that it's secure as possible. So when they actually rebuild part of the East Wing, much of it will be the same, just with enhanced security features and other, features that aren't going to be maybe public knowledge just for, security reasons. Well, on CNN, they were trying so hard to bash this project, and you could hear the CNN host who actually worked on Hillary Clinton's campaign hedging. Like every time she came in with an insult, it was always hedged with, well, I guess it's not that bad, or, well, I guess it's not technically demolition. Just see if you can catch all the hedges that I did.
Well, as I mentioned on this program a couple weeks ago, I think it's fairly grotesque to begin construction, just the optics of beginning construction on a grand ballroom at a time when the government is shut down, inflation is still high, costs are still high. We saw new economic indicators coming out today actually showing that middle and lower income Americans are falling behind in car payments, which is an early indicator. So I think even if you believe that this was a good idea, I would say the timing is horrible. And look, personally, it was a little shocking to see those images, having worked in the White House. I mean, there's so much beauty and history in the East Wing. So it's sad to see that, that huge hole there. And I would just mention that some of the other things, the changes that Scott mentioned, those were at additions. This is a subtraction, I guess, in an addition, but it really changes, I think, in many ways what the people's house is supposed to be about, which is not necessarily a grand ballroom with crystal chandeliers, but it's about, the American people. So again, I just also think the construction timing is really just gross.
It is about the American people, and that's why President Trump wants to make sure that he can entertain, wine and dine, and woo foreign dignitaries and other heads of state who come in and, are doing important official government business. Like, why wouldn't you want to roll out the red carpet and showcase, DC is the nation's capital. That's part of the reason why he wanted to take care of crime and homelessness there, right? If you bring in foreign dignitaries and your nation's capital is rampant with crime, there's homelessness, there are drugs being used on the street, there's trash everywhere, it's not a good look for your country. How can anyone take you seriously? Well, I think you can apply that same logic to the nation's capital, to the White House. Well, like I said, she worked with Hillary Clinton. Well, Hillary, also similar to Gavin Newsom, put out a statement bashing this addition to the White House. I would like to point out that in 2001, ABC News wrote this. Let's fast forward to the very bottom here, the second to last paragraph. After they were criticized for taking $190,000 worth of China flatware, rugs, television, sofas, and other gifts. Oh, so the Clintons actually took $190,000 worth of goods from the White House. Well, they ended up paying, for about $86,000 worth of these quote unquote gifts. They also sent $28,000, going back to that first opening paragraph, they sent $28,000 worth of the household goods, the White House household goods, back to the White House. So some people call that stealing. Some people, like, whatever you want to call it, that is not a good look. So for Hillary Clinton to be lecturing President Trump on respecting the people's house when their family took almost $200,000 worth of goods out of the White House, spare me your lecture. Spare me your high horse, Hillary Clinton. Well, the renovations are set to look just amazing. These are the designs. So you can see, in the upper right there, the main part of the White House, but this would be the new East Wing with the ballroom. From another angle right here, and this one can hold about 999 people is the new estimate. And then I have pictures of the actual ballroom renderings itself. But before we get into that, I would like to acknowledge Throwback Sports Videos. I'm glad you're still here. Dennis Nevin, RL1401, thank you so much. James Dennis, Alyssa Morgan, David Chung, Colleen Daly, good to see you, and John Mendez as the members of today's Governor's Club. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. I am so glad that you enjoy the videos, and I'm glad that you're here. Well, the inner renderings of this ballroom, I think, are just gorgeous. Here's one of them right here. And then another one. And I don't know about you, but to me, not only is it elegance and class all wrapped into one, but I think it really matches the current design in the White House. A lot of Democrats and the mainstream media, they are, they'll use whatever they can to bash President Trump. And they're saying, oh, he's just turning it to Mar-a-Lago. To me, that looks nothing like Mar-a-Lago. Yes, I get there's a lot of gold, and Mar-a-Lago has a lot of gold, but it's gold accents against darker colors, right? Mar-a-Lago is a lot, I want to say, there's, it's just darker colors. Whereas here, similar to the White House name, it is just white walls, white ceilings with gold accents. So to me, it's very different, even in styles. The only similarity is the use of gold. I don't see how, Trump is turning this into Mar-a-Lago 2.0. Now, the big question here is, can President Trump even do this? And there are a few commissions and groups to take note of. So this right here is, can Trump build a ballroom? This is from ABC News. He's moving ahead with construction despite the lack of sign-off from the National Capital Planning Commission, the executive branch agency that has jurisdiction over construction and major renovations to government buildings in the region. Now, if you just read that, you would think to yourself, oh my gosh, President Trump doesn't have the right to do this. So the Democrats are right. He's just being an authoritarian dictator. No, you actually have to keep reading the article here. Trump named a top White House aide, Will Scharf, to head the commission. Scarf, I'm not sure, has made a distinction between demolition work and rebuilding, saying the commission was only required to vet the latter. So in other words, the demolition, the White House can do that without any approval from that commission. And there's already been reports that once the demolition is complete, the White House will submit the construction plans and the blueprints to the commission for them to review. Now, there is another issue at stake here, and that is the Preservation Act. Despite the White House's historic and symbolic influence, there was little to protect it from the demolition work now underway. The White House, along with the Supreme Court building, the Capitol building, and several other properties, is exempted from historic preservation rules that would otherwise stand in the way of such a building being torn down. So the Democrats are already trying to cite that rule, trying to cite that act, but they are forgetting the fact that those buildings are explicitly, by name, excluded from that act, the National Historic Preservation Act of 1966. And there are also some other commissions, like the Commission of Fine Arts, and basically, I could get really into the weeds here, but it is not so clear which commission has authority over this. And I guarantee you, they've dotted all their I's, crossed all their T's, and they are ready for whatever maneuverings, legal maneuverings they need to do to get this done the right way. I mean, there's no guarantee, right, that the Republicans will maintain control of the House next year. And so they don't want President Trump to get impeached again. I'm sure they've talked about this. And just because they haven't explicitly laid out their next plan step by step by step, it doesn't mean that there aren't plans behind the scenes. As we all have seen at this point, President Trump, to many people's pleasant surprises, is a lot more focused, a lot more detail-oriented, and a lot more, I would say, proactive and aggressive in this second term, especially compared to his first term. And I think that's, largely due to the way he staffed his administration and making sure that people who actually share his vision and agenda and are on the same page are working for him. And by the way, they have issued a statement to The Guardian. In a statement to them, a White House official said the National Planning Commission does not require permits for demolition, only for vertical construction. Permits will be submitted to the NPC at the appropriate time. And so you can pause this and read the rest of it, talking about the concerns that, the National Trust for Historic Preservation has. But again, they don't have oversight and jurisdiction over the White House. The biggest complaint I've seen has been the fact that the new version of the East Wing with this ballroom would be around 90,000 square feet. Well, the main residence of the White House, off the top of my mind, I can't remember. It's either 45,000 or 55,000. It's one of those two square feet. So it is a lot smaller, but from what I understand, based on the renderings that are publicly available, it is designed in such a way that it won't obstruct the view from, the Treasury or vice versa, and it won't overwhelm and be aesthetically displeasing to the eye when you're looking at the White House from the street. Like, it'll still look nice. And honestly, I think both colonnades, the West Colonnade and the East Colonnade, help with that, because that means both wings aren't literally attached to the main building, right? And so it really gives some breathing room as far as the aesthetic design is concerned. Well, the last major renovation that happened at the White House wasn't that long ago. It was actually under Barack Obama. But the difference then was that was taxpayer funded. Not only was it taxpayer funded, but it cost almost double what this ballroom is going to cost. And I don't remember hearing much outcry back then.
Sounds like they're building another wing to the White House, but we appreciate you keeping your focus.
You can't even imagine, TJ. It's going to happen for the next 2 years. All of the banging, the jackhammering, the dust, the confusion, the noise of all places to do construction is happening right here, the front lawn of the White House.
It's a 4-year renovation project. Estimated cost, $376 million.
$376 million compared to $200 million. You do the math. And by the way, one of the biggest additions of Barack Obama's renovations was the addition of a basketball court. I have no issue against basketball, but it's mostly been used to bring in professional athletes so they can actually use it, and they've taken photo shoots there. But you compare a basketball court, which is really just recreational use, to a ballroom, which, like I've said repeatedly in this video, is used to woo and fine and dine foreign dignitaries and really try to get people into our alliances and trade, turn them into trading partners. I think that this is going to be a tool that benefits all Americans, a tool that really helps all of our foreign affairs. As always, though, this is just my analysis and commentary. That's what's happening in the world of politics from my point of view, and I would love to hear from you. So, are you excited about this new ballroom, or do you have some reservations? Are you concerned about, oh, he didn't go through this commission, or, oh, I'm worried about this or that, or, oh, I wish he would have gone through more proper channels? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. To me, I think it's hard to say, since it's not clear that these various commissions, some of them, it's very clear that they don't have jurisdiction. They don't have oversight over the White House. So for Democrats to be citing those, I think, is a little disingenuous. For other ones, it is surprising that the White House still, to this date, has not submitted its blueprints, but they said that they will. And, they've pretty much done everything they've said they're going to do. So I have no reason to doubt that's going to happen. And like Scarf said, the commission doesn't need to approve demolitions. They only need to approve the new vertical builds. So time will tell, but nothing right now is supporting the claim that the Democrats are making that, oh, President Trump is turning this into Mar-a-Lago. I think that is just more fake outrage. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me in the algorithm to reach new viewers like you. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.